So it's been almost a year since we moved here to Clinton, Iowa from Houston. So we thought we'd make a update video or 1 year compilation video slash farm tour of most everything that's happened to us that we've documented these last 12 months. If this is the first time you've watched any of our videos, I'm Gabe. That's Anna Rose behind the camera. We moved up here because we really wanted to start our own farm or homestead, but we couldn't really afford to do that in Texas. All the while, this place was really just kind of going to hell and needed more care, needs more care. So yeah, we came up here to be the ones to do that and help keep this place, in the family, help keep this place nice and
out of China's and Bill Gates's hands.
Sure. I don't think you want to lead off the video with some conspiratorial stuff like that.
It's not conspiratorial.
Whatever, political. Anyway, so this is how we did it. This is our big pink bus Buttercup. It's still got a bunch of our furniture and stuff on it, but we drove this thing, or I drove this thing 1,000+ miles with all of our stuff and our 3 cats and all of our hopes and dreams up to Clinton, dang, Iowa. So yeah, take a look at, take a look at everything we managed to do in a year. All right, so here's the house, which is where we're currently staying, but down here are the 2 guest houses. And so all 3 of them together, we call them Baby Bear, Mama Bear, and Papa Bear. These 2 houses both have been completely torn to hell by raccoons and possums and family storage and broken water pipes for the past, I don't know how many years. So they're both gutted right now. But our long-term plan is down there in Mama Bear, Anna Rose and I, that's our main remodel. And this year, one of our probably #1 goal for this year is to finish the remodel on Mama Bear and move into it. So yeah, we'll go look at that later. I think the first thing we did when we got here was we started the garden. Mm-hmm. So this was from my childhood. This used to be the playground where me and all my cousins and cousins' kids would play in. But now it's a vegetable garden. Took the fence down, tilled the rows, mulched the rows really heavily, and grew actually, I thought, a pretty exceptional garden. That was a really cool experience coming from Houston, which is zone 9, and now living in zone 5, to like compare the differences in timing and climate and soil type and doing all of, I've been gardening for, it's starting to feel like a long time, but to do all of that in a completely different climate was a really fun experience, and we're looking forward to doing that again this year. It's still early yet. Our last frost is, I don't even think our last frost is until...
It's in May.
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks away still, which is why the garden is empty. But I do have garlic growing. Anna Rose has a lot of bulbs and flowers and things that are coming up now. We planted some raspberries down on the end there, and the raspberries are totally leafed out now, and we've been actually dividing from the suckers that have been shooting up from the roots. So these are actually like our nursery raspberries. We're using these raspberries for division to plant out raspberries elsewhere in the farm, and we'll talk about that. Here's something that I'm most excited about for the garden this year, which is my electroculture antenna. Please go back and watch that video. It's the most controversial thing we've done since moving here. We will definitely be doing updates when we have actual vegetables growing in here throughout the year too, to see if it See if it has any effect on the growth, like it said they do. We've been expanding into that area over there. So we're expanding the garden, and we're also expanding more and more into perennials. So last year we just deep mulched this whole area to reclaim it. It was a horrible, just burdock forest, which is quickly becoming my least favorite plant. I don't know if it's particular to me, but the seed heads make me just unbearably itchy. And I, of course, am always walking through brush and things and getting them stuck to me. So that's been a real joy. But anyway, yeah, we're planting out, put in some apple trees that I got from a friend, and you can kind of see it. We did we did these 2 rows of strawberries. We got strawberries coming in. There's more on this side underneath the raspberries. This half is going to be more like fruit production and more like fruit nursery stuff for elsewhere in the farm. This was probably the next thing that we finished was tearing down. There used to be a old shed here. You know, the roof was falling in. It was just in really bad shape, as are most things on this property. So we went ahead and tore it down. I'd like to build something here again. Sort of started to do it last year, and then I decided I hated how it was going. I haven't taken down all that stuff yet, but yeah, that's not going to stay. And then we started this garden here again, deep mulch, and this is kind of turning into another one of Anna Rose's flower gardens. But I've also been putting in like more bush berries. So that's actually a yasta berry, which is like a currant slash gooseberry, apple tree, and then in there I've also planted oak tree. So one day this oak will grow into a gigantic canopy to shade our driveway here. This is our mobile chicken coop, which we used pretty much from the end of May onward. Was that end of May? Once the chickens came out?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Anyway, so after our chickens were done brooding last year, they came out here, came into the coop, and we dragged them all over the yard all around here so they could free range and do that whole thing. We will use this again this year, except I would really like to change the siding on this first. This is old siding that came off of the barn when we tore the barn down, and it's just horribly heavy. Yeah, so I'd really like to take this off, replace it with metal roofing, and my hope is that when we do that, we'll actually be able to just pull the coop by hand as it is right now, especially when the grass is or like when the lawn is soft, like after a rain or something. There's just no moving this without a vehicle. So that's how we moved it around. The side yard there, dragged it all around the side yard, and then down in the front yard over there. And we had to use the truck, or we had to use my dad's car. And it's really not ideal, obviously, driving vehicles on your lawn. It's counterproductive, really, because the weight of the vehicles causes compaction in your soil. The whole reason we're doing this is to improve the soil out there. So we don't have a tractor. We don't have any kind of other machinery like that to move this. So if we can avoid driving the cars on the lawn this year to pull this around, that's going to be great. So, but we'll see. Stay tuned for that. So the chickens came out of the coop and went into this winter run. They came out of the mobile coop and went into the winter run So like end of October maybe. So the chickens have been in here since end of October, early November. Let's look at the coop. So their winter coop is inside of this old garage.
And clearing out this garage was one of the first projects too.
Right. Yeah. Let's not forget. I mean, this looks also terrible. Like we completely junked this place up again. But this side of the garage, both sides of the garage actually were family storage, air quotes family storage that nobody had any plans of ever moving out of. So yeah, that all got totally raccooned and possumed and groundhogged, and it was pretty terrible. So yeah, this got cleaned out, and yeah, I built this winter coop. Kind of, I don't know when I did it. I'm sure you have videos and pictures of it, but they've been in here. They've been in here all winter. We got one bedtime girl already, one girl in the corner. But we do a deep litter, deep bedding system as they,
Roost.
they poop like crazy at night, and as they leave their droppings in here, we just throw more and more wood chips or straw or whatever bedding we have on hand to keep that going. And then eventually, coming up here, maybe I don't know. Like once the chickens are moved out and back into their mobile coop, which might it's imminent. I don't know. Maybe in a couple weeks. Yeah, we'll take all of this stuff out and we'll move that and mulch gardens with it. So use it as mulch and fertilizer and that kind of thing for that. Well, I mean, I don't scrape. You're the one who scrapes.
Yeah. So all of this part of this asphalt was completely covered with a thick mat of soil and vines. So, and we couldn't actually even open this garage door. Like this was like stuck shut by all the overgrowth.
Yeah.
So we got all that cleared.
Yep.
Where this wood pile is was a huge mess of stump and overgrowth.
Yep.
So that's pretty much done being cleared.
And we had some great bonfires there while we were clearing these out. I still look at it, and it looks like a horrible mess to me because it is a horrible mess.
Horrible mess, but
and I'm so sorry.
It's our horrible mess, and we are managing it.
Well, it also is steadily improving, and I'm sure that
it has a utility.
Yeah,
it's not just junk.
Yeah. So something else I wanted to say about the chicken run. So we do deep bedding inside of their coop to catch all their poop, but then we've also done deep bedding out here in the run area to also like catch their droppings, their nutrients as that happens. But then more than that, I think it's worth saying, like, if you're gonna keep chickens, it's not right to keep them on dirt. That's how you spread diseases and parasites and that kind of thing.
Hot takes.
I mean, you can see it right here, actually. So the difference between, see here, where the soil is, or the ground is too high up to mulch it. I need to dig it out actually so that I can mulch it. So this is what chickens do to bare ground. So like all of this was grass, but that's what the chickens did. So by mulching, they still love it. They still kick around and scratch and dust bath in it and do whatever, but you're also making just like one giant sheet compost pile. You don't get horrible dust and debris blowing everywhere. It is a lot more sanitary for their waste.
And there's biodiversity, so there's worms and bugs and stuff for them to eat.
I also just think, and maybe this is a personal thing, but I also think it just looks better.
Yeah.
And this too, the same as the bedding in the coop. Anna Rosa has been harvesting this bedding. We've been using sifted chicken bedding in the greenhouse, which we'll go to soon, to start plants in. And then we've got this greenhouse. This is the winter chicken greenhouse. There's not really anything going on in there anymore, but we had a really bad, pretty deep freeze early January. Super cold, way colder than Anna Rose and I are used to. I think it was like -30 for
No, it
at
wasn't.
night.
It was like -20.
Whatever, cold enough. The chickens were cold. We had a lot of frostbite, and um, they looked really pathetic for a week or so. So anyway, after it warmed up again, we went ahead and built that greenhouse for them.
So they have somewhere to go when they decide to be in the run.
Yeah, yeah. So when it's really cold, or on like rainy days, that's awesome for them. And what we've been doing is building compost piles in there, and also feeding them like extra food scraps and stuff in there. So yeah, eventually that will be like just a refuge for them to go in when the weather's bad, stay warm. You can kind of see them through the door actually. They're kicking around, they're foraging, they're looking for treats. Um, and at this point, we've got several videos on what we're doing, so you can look at that. So we had a barn. The roof was collapsing in the barn for about 10 years.
At
June?
least 10 years.
It's like June.
Yeah.
Your dad came out, and we got to tearing the barn down, um, which was fun, super fun and horrible. It was a terrible experience. I don't know how many nails I stepped on.
How many tires we had to get fixed?
Yeah, yeah. So that's done.
Ish.
Well, right. um, we left that end of the barn. I think that we're gonna tear this down. If not this year, then next year. I thought for a minute that we would save it and put a roof on it and use it for something, but I think we're better off just starting from scratch. The remaining bits of the barn will come down. You want to go look at Gwen?
Sure. You want to talk about this Airstream?
We have an Airstream if anyone wants it. No, actually, the more time that goes on, the more I want this Airstream. We've been talking about
when you're getting so much better at demo and construction.
Yeah, we've been talking about like how we're gonna get this out of here. This is a horrible raccoon hotel. Like, let's just get rid of it, sort of thing. But no, the more that I look at it, the more I want to keep it and like tow it out into some corner of the field and like make it nice, make it like a nice guest cabin kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. So more lately, I think it was starting in February, we got our first goats. So here's Gwen.
This is our doe. She's a 2-year-old Nigerian dwarf. And she's lonely right now. She has to hang on for just 2 more weeks before we get her another female companion. We have to keep her isolated right now from our 2 bucks because one of our bucks keeps covering her and she keeps letting him. And he's a bigger breed than her, so we can't have that.
Yep. So I would say that's a pretty big goal of ours this year, is to really get our dairy herd going. We have a lot of brush and overgrowth and stuff like that to deal with on this property, which is why we decided to start with goats. I'm not sure I would make that decision again.
I think not.
Everybody warns that goats will give you a hard time and that they're escape artists and that they're trouble and whatever. And we have not even really found that to be true, so much as just
They're high maintenance.
They're high maintenance animals just in their health. Like
Yeah.
they are not as hardy as their reputation would suggest. We made a video talking. We actually had a goat die, and we made a video talking about that and talking about, you know, what we plan on doing differently in the future and our plans for growing a herd and that kind of thing. The goats have definitely been very steep learning curve for us this spring, is taking care of these goats.
Yeah.
And we'll go look at the boys in a little bit too.
So Glenn's never had kids before, and we would like to get her bred, but our buck Rufus, who would be fine to breed her because he's the same breed as her, she hates him. So not sure how our plan is going to work out
Right.
in regards to that.
The window is definitely closing. If we waited much longer to get her bred, she would be out here breeding when it's like freezing at night, and we don't want to have any babies dropping on the ground when it's that cold.
Yeah.
So she might have to wait. She might have to wait until
next year,
December, along with Daisy, this other doe that we're about to get. So this is an old dog kennel that we've been keeping goats in, and then we also added a couple weeks ago now, something like that. Built this second pen so that we can keep boys and girls separate, so that no one gets bred on accident. That's been working pretty good.
They definitely prefer the kennel fortress because it's got more cover and feels safer, whereas this is just looking out into the open field.
I think they feel a little bit more exposed out here. I also think they all still associate that the kennel with home, and this is being someplace else.
Yeah. I also think it's like a power thing.
A power thing.
Yeah, like the kennel
like that's
is
the nice,
for the...
That's the nice bed.
Yeah.
I don't know. But this keeps goats in.
It does.
So all of this here is part of the farm, and we lease this land out to that neighbor down there. Right now he's got this whole section planted out to alfalfa, which he makes hay, and he raises cows down there. So he's growing all of this to feed his cows. We really like it because we can still walk in the alfalfa, and we can also see. So we're kind of not looking forward to when he puts this back into corn, and we lose our view. But yeah, this is all part of the farm. And that tree line down there is a creek that runs through the property. So that's been that's very nice to have. Had some cool walks down there. Let's go see the boys.
Talk about how you've been working on clearing all of this, how it wasn't even...
Yeah, so this whole area I've come through and cleared a couple times now, but I did it again yesterday because I was planting trees and shrubs as understory on this tree line here. So yeah, all of this is invasive honeysuckle mostly that we're taking out to plant more productive things. So here's our two boys. There's Rufus. He's a Nigerian dwarf.
And he's the one that we wouldn't mind if he bred Gwen, but she just hates him.
Yeah, she hates him. He's kind of a beta anyway. He's also too small, and he just hasn't fully matured yet. So, and then yeah, we got him in February, and it's actually his brother is the one that passed away. And then this guy behind him that's Bucky Blue Eyes. And he's the one who definitely knows what his job is. But he's a mini alpine, so he's 3/4 Nigerian dwarf, 1/4 alpine, which is a full size goat. And so he cannot breed Gwen because we're worried about his babies just being too big for
Birth
for her
canal.
body. Yeah, but they're in love. They're married anyway. We got them at the same time from the same farm, and I guess they just associate with each other. I don't know what it is, but we've got this electric netting and the solar charger, so it gives them a good shock if they touch the net. And we've just been moving them around with the net to try and eat down on some of this brush. And, also feed them for free, which I love. So they're getting the hang of it.
Yeah, they're getting. Rufus has always been good at his job. He
Yeah,
was just immediately a natural born grazer.
yeah,
Lucky's been a little bit slower to learn, but he's getting the hang of it, especially now that we took Gwen out of the picture.
yeah. He's less distracted
Yeah,
by his lady. And I didn't feed them this morning on purpose. I didn't give them any hay. I just put them out here, and they got right to it. So yeah, they're doing their job for sure. But they stay out here during the day. We're still a little worried about coyotes and other predators because we hear them at night, and this dog is not worth anything. We don't have any livestock guardians yet or anything like that. So just to be on the safe side, we take them and we put them back into the kennel at night just so that they're locked up and safe.
yeah. But if we get our meat rabbit production up enough, then we'll be able to account for getting a livestock guardian dog, and that'll be a game changer for how we manage the goats.
I built this greenhouse this winter because I think I got really restless. I got really restless thinking about spring and thinking about plants, that kind of thing. So built this with the idea of using it to start seeds, and then kind of by accident, when we started talking about getting rabbits, we realized that it would be the perfect rabbit habitat. So now it's both. Now it's rabbits and seeds. Guess we need a water in here. We haven't done that today. So we have 4 rabbits. We've got 3 does and 1 buck. Emilio, the buck, is back in there.
There's Dusty.
Dusty, Maple, and new baby Cynthia.
She's so cute. So our 3 does are Maple, Dusty, and Cynthia. And we're pretty sure that Maple and Dusty are both bred. And Maple's due date is coming up in about a week.
The 31st.
Yeah.
So today's the 23rd.
So, yeah, a week. And Dusty, we didn't see when she got bred, but we just noticed that she was exhibiting some nesting behavior. So, we'll see. We put the nesting boxes in for them to hopefully utilize whenever they decide they're ready.
Yep.
If they even choose to use the nesting boxes.
Probably not. So I really liked having rabbits, mostly because they've been so low maintenance and easy. Knock on wood.
Yeah, we'll see if that remains the case after they start having their kits. But
Yeah, yeah. So that's really exciting. Babies in a week or so. I'm really excited about raising rabbits this year. I'm hoping that we get really good, meat production doing that. Both for us to eat, to sort of really start like growing our own food in an appreciable way. Not just vegetables but meat now too. Then plus the goat milk, And then like you were saying earlier, if we can get the rabbit production going enough to be able to grow, to raise meat to feed a dog, that would solve a huge problem for us in terms of getting a livestock guardian dog. Because as it is right now, like paying a gigantic, you know, 80, 100-pound dog, however big those dogs are, I don't know, paying to feed them is not something that we're really excited to do. So if we can raise the food for the dog to protect our animals, to raise more food, like that would be just really, really ideal. They've been the bunnies. We got the bunnies. We got Emilio and Dusty and Maple. We got them in February, so they've been in here since then. They've been doing really well, even with cold weather. The plan is to get them out onto pasture as well this spring. So we'll build rabbit tractors for them and get them on grass. I don't know, probably by the end of May, maybe. We'll see how it goes. It was getting so hot in here that I thought it was gonna have to be sooner, but I ended up just taking the gable ends off of both ends of the greenhouse here and replacing it with chicken wire, and that's improved the heat issue in here. Because yeah, it was just getting too hot in here. Another project that I'd like to hopefully get around to this year is this back wall. This north wall is just wood paneling right now, but I'd like to do a either a cob wall or like a cordwood wall back here, and then with some kind of masonry heater attached to the wall, so that we have like a solar mass, plus wood burning stove kind of situation here to keep the bunnies from freezing to death in the like dead of winter coming up here. That'll be a project for when the rabbits are out and we can take the wall off. Probably once we're done growing the seedlings in here for spring and early summer as well. And then we've also got some new additions to the chicken flock. So we've got the chicken brooder in here. So these two bantams both went broody pretty much at the same time, and we kind of lost track of who went broody first, and didn't have the heart to tell one of them no. So we actually let them both like sit the same clutch of eggs, and they've been co-parenting these chicks now. So that's been fun. Our plan has been since the start to hatch our own chickens. So I purposely bought four different breeds of chickens, one rooster and then three different types of hen. And then we got more hens that are all different breeds. Anyway, to like really get a strong like hybrid mixture genetic chicken going out here. I really love the idea of just letting the hens do all of the work, turning the eggs and mothering and um, keeping the chicks warm. Like we haven't had, there's no power out here, but we haven't had to worry about like having a lamp out here for the chicks. Like the hens have just taken care of it, and I think that they're happier for it too. I think that it, on some sort of chicken psychology level, they like to be able to go broody and hatch eggs. So that's been cool. Yeah, so I reckon we'll do more videos this year about the rabbits and about the greenhouse. This setup is a little different than what you normally see. We elected to raise our rabbits in a colony rather than raise our rabbits like in cages, which is definitely like the norm, both for like small scale homesteaders, but also for like industry. I actually started to build a cage, and I think it was probably because that was going so poorly that I changed my mind about it. But Anna Rose and I also talked about it for a while, and some of the information and videos and stuff we were watching, we just decided that one, it would probably just be a lot easier on us and on chores and on whatever to keep them this way. But then two, that ultimately the rabbits themselves, would be happier being able to be with each other and interact and whatever, rather than being caged and separated all the time. So we'll let you know how it goes, what problems there are as they arise.
So far, they've been just as low maintenance, if not even less maintenance than the chickens.
Yeah. Honestly, that's why I've enjoyed having them so much, is because they haven't been this huge undertaking like the ghosts have. I think the payoff will be pretty big. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get them sooner. Like we could have been having rabbits this whole time.
Well, you had to build the greenhouse.
Yeah, I had to build a
We
greenhouse,
got them in here pretty soon
but
after.
I think I would even say, like, if we were to like rewind a year, I might even, if I were going to do it again, I might even get rabbits first before even getting chickens. If I was talking to someone who was starting a project like this, I think I would say that.
Why?
Number one, if you if if you can't find farm eggs in this part of the world, it's because you're not leaving the house. Like, it just seems like everyone around us is already raising chickens. We've been we've been trying to sell eggs on the farm stand and really haven't had that much success. It's because either people have chickens themselves, or they know somebody, like they've got a nephew or an uncle or whoever that has chickens that they're getting eggs from.
Yeah, which we're not complaining about.
No, not at all, because we're not really even at the scale that, like, we're trying to sell eggs. Like, we don't have so many eggs that it's a problem.
Plus, it's like
Yet.
how we want the world to look.
Exactly. Yes. Two, like the inputs, like we're paying. It's chicken food. Chicken feed is very cheap here compared to Houston, but we are still paying like real money to buy the feed for the chickens, and there's just a whole host of problems tied up in like that industry, and like how all of those feeds are raised and procured and processed and whatever. We are trying to eliminate as much feed, like commercial feed, that we're buying to feed to our birds as possible. But all that to say, compare that to rabbits, where you literally can just feed them grass and they turn grass into food for you. Like, it's amazing. It might as well be alchemy. Like, it's just incredible. I think that's the big one for me, is just the cost of inputs being zero for rabbits versus kind of a lot for chickens. And then, the byproduct of both is really good fertilizer, right? But I think that rabbit fertilizer has the edge. Rabbit fertilizer is not hot like chicken fertilizer is. You don't have to compost it or like process it further to use it in your garden, versus the chicken manure. You have to be just a little bit more careful with it before you put it on plants. So if I had to choose again, I would choose rabbits first. This is the corral, and I know you have good pictures of what this looked like before we started. So please put those in here. This eventually, my sort of vision for this space right now is more of a like food forest slash um, like perennial nursery space. Um, this last year, we put in these two beds of, it's wood chips. Um, we put them on contour. So I built an A-frame, and we found the contour and we laid it all out, and it's fine. And there's some really good plants in there that are growing and that we're excited to see come back, and seeds that we're hoping germinate and whatever. But I think that this pattern is actually going to go away eventually. Maybe not this year, but from a management perspective, like, these crazy wavy lines are just not going to work for us long term, especially when we start getting more animals out here. Like, I want to run chickens out here. I want to run the rabbits out here in their tractors, sheep, goats, that kind of thing. It just like
Pigs.
yeah, yeah, probably pigs. Eventually, I don't know if it's going to be this year, but we're going to change it to just straight beds running north and south. Really, really massively dense, like biointensive plantings. Again, it'll be fruit trees and shrubs and nuts and that kind of thing. But then we'll also do a lot of like cuttings and nursery work. And eventually, I want to start selling like nursery stock and stuff like that. So that will be kind of what this area is for. So we don't need to go in there, but that was more. Baby Bear was more family storage that was completely raccooned and horrible. So that's all been cleaned out, and we did start like gutting the walls and everything, but we haven't really gotten much farther than that. And we kind of waited a while last year. I think it was like might have been almost July when we started in here finally.
Yep.
Um,
And our original plan was to do the houses first
yeah,
thing when we got here.
but I think we got here and there was like so much cleanup work on the land and like start the gardens and tear the barn down that we just got excited and sort of caught up in all of that. And so yeah, we just didn't. We also were like not very excited to get in here because of what a horrible, moldy, wet mess it was. So
Yeah, it was the cleaning out the two houses were top 5 biggest messes to deal
yeah,
with.
yeah, we got this house down to the studs by winter. Really by last fall, we got it completely gutted and pretty clean. I had to do, it was a big project. I had to completely redo the stem wall, not really the stem wall, but the foundation
Benches.
was completely fucked, like just completely messed up. So this was an old barn, and the way that the wall met the foundation, and there was a weird foot, and the wall was completely rotted out. Anyway, it was a huge endeavor. And then lately, we just did all of the wiring in here last week, and we started adding the insulation. Our goal is to finish this house this year. This house it's gonna be off grid. So we're gonna have a little solar array, battery bank kind of thing. We're gonna use a wood cooking stove. So we'll have wood heat in here. This fall and this winter, we did a ton of uh, work on the fence line here. So this fence actually goes like at least a third of a mile that way, and we just finally hit the turn in the fence that goes against the alfalfa field that we showed earlier. So all of this is very rough and raw, and I'm excited to see because like this whole thing was in canopy last year. So I'm excited to see like what kind of grass and herbs and weeds and things, what sort of comes back now that we've added back so much light. Because eventually this pasture is about 8 acres, and so it's where we're going to start first with our meat herds. So sheep, goats, eventually cows. We'll see what happens. It's all going to start in this pasture here. I think that we'll have sort of enough time this summer to get started on it, but before we do any of that, like we've got to do a lot more clearing and fence mending. We've got to figure out how to get electric fencing going down here. And then the really big one is going to be water, getting water down here for the animals, which I have no idea. I don't even know yet how I want to do that. I'm kind of hoping I'm kind of hoping that, well, I don't know. We'll probably have to be hauling water for a little bit, which is going to suck, but whatever. what we've also started with out here, Anna Rose just finished a video on that, on silvopasture plantings that we've started out here. These are all trees and shrubs. There's raspberries in there. Basically, there's a plant every 2 feet on this row now. And so this whole thing, hopefully, it will just like blow up with food and shade and, pollen and nectar, and it'll be a nice windbreak, habitat, ecosystem service. I think that this planting pattern will be something that we use pretty much in this entire pasture, like all the way down, to grow food for the animals, to grow food for us, and to do all kinds of nice things. We've also been just enjoying this pasture ourselves, pretty much well, since last summer, and we can walk it a little bit. Last summer, I started to mow a walking path for us
with the side.
with the scythe, yeah. And so we've made it. I mean, not less lately because we've been so busy, but we made it a really good habit over the winter to come out here and walk. And it's just been nice to sort of see the space over the course of several seasons, how it how it acts, what the trees do. So our neighbor who rent um, our farmland, our arable farmland, they also for a long time grazed cattle in here, and they grazed cattle on other parts of the farm too, which was cool because well, one, it was a favor to them. It also sort of kept the grass down out here, and kept things sort of managed and whatever. The only issue really was that their style of grazing, they would just let the cows down here, 8 acres. I don't even know how long he would leave them down here. So that pattern is definitely led to a little bit of overgrazing. It's not the worst it could be, and there's certainly not too much that we're going to have to overcome in that regard. We definitely plan on doing more intensive, like rotational grazing style with our livestock once we get them out here. Yeah, that'll be another system that we're developing. So that's all we have. I mean, we definitely did more, but those are the big broad strokes projects that we took on last year to like really get the farm going and reclaim the land and clean the place up, etc. Thanks for watching, and keep following along. Drop a line. Be kind to your wife. I don't know.